the sun go down. We ain't gotta sleep. We're sailing towards the ending. We're sailing towards the ending. We're sailing towards the ending. Let the sun go down. Let the sun go down. We ain't gotta sleep. We're sailing towards the ending. We're sailing towards the ending. We're sailing towards the ending. Let the sun go down.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the NSSEA Featured Match of the Week. This time around we have Uyu Nuzzle Wuzzle, a name that should be familiar to some of you who've been tuning in since the previous season, as they of course are fall season champions versus the largely untested newcomers, the WingsUpBum, both teams from Handsworth, consisting largely of grade 12 students. Now, as I said, Wings are new to the League of Legends scene, but according to my notes here, they do have experience in the Rocket League from the last season, where they came in third place, so we'll see how their gaming skills translates into a MOBA context. Now, as for Wings, our information is a bit lacking in terms of their previous outings in terms of League of Legends, but we do know a little bit about what Uwu's been up to here. They have gone 1-1 in their previous games up until this point, having defeated Burn Creek 2-1 in that series there, and they have also actually lost to Burnaby Mountain 0-2, so that's interesting. I wonder if either that's a case of the competition stiffening or if Uwu's been slacking in the downtime here. I suppose we're about to find out in this matchup and see how they're going to fare in this series. Now, we are of course well on our way into the banning and the picking phase here, so let's take a look at what we have. Of course, Uwu is on the left-hand side here, with Wings on the right. Thus far, the bans are Garen Morgana and Mastery coming in for Uwu, and Wings having decided to get rid of Caitlyn, Teemo, and Tristana. Now, Tristana and Morgana in particular are very, very common bans. Not to say that the other bans are entirely nonsensical, but definitely, if you're just kind of in any context, you're pretty much going to see Morgana and Tristana banned out, as they're considered bordering on OP, depending on who you want to ask. OP is, of course, a relative sort of phrase there, but the general consensus is they're quite powerful, so not surprised to see those two in particular banned out. In terms of picks, however, what do we have here? We have a Yasuo sneaking into this game here, another frequent target of bans, generally considered a character that games can often revolve around being a hyper carry of sorts. Lux, Lilia, and we're on the last two picks here for Uwu, so let's move on over to Wings as they decide on what they're doing on that side. Darius, Misfortune, Mordekaiser, and Echo with one pick remaining for Wings. Of course, in the meantime, it seems that Uwu has elected to go with Zoe and Janna. So then there's an interesting comp there. I imagine, given what's happening, that's an AD carry version of the Yasuo, not the most common variant, but certainly not an unknown quantity. And to round out the picks there for Wing side, we have a Lee Sin. All right. Well, in any case, let's try and figure out what Uwu is exactly planning here. As I imagine, the most straightforward pick would be our position of Janna. She can't really go too many other places. I used to play top lane Janna as a joke in season 2 or something like that, but I imagine that's not what we're going to be seeing here. Actually, no. This perhaps not as an AD carry. So there's something very strange and non-standard going in the bottom lane. That's for certain. I suppose it's not. Let's speculate that on that in a minute, because I do believe that the wing side is probably working with something slightly more standard here. As no, again, we actually have a number of characters that can really go anywhere. So it's a bit of a toss-up. Darius, of course, he having been recently buffed in terms of his jungle capabilities, could be a top lane or a jungle. Misfortune, you do see her as a support, though I imagine, given the lack of any other AD carry, we're going to see a proper normal Misfortune AD carry. Lee Sin, he can go mid, he can go top, he can go jungle. He's always been something like that, and pretty much throughout his existence. He's an interesting case of certain roles for him may be in more vogue, and you're more used to seeing him in a very specific spot at any given time in League of Legends. But at any given time, he could have really gone in any of those positions. Obviously, there's going to be some variance with the nerfs and buffs, but we'll see what ends up happening there. I suspect, though, it may even be a Lee Sin support, which I know was a thing briefly at one point. So either way, we have two very strange matchups here, and I'm eager to see what both teams are able to do with some perhaps slightly unnatural positioning. Well, coming back to Uwu's side, let's take another look. Let's take a fresh glance at what they may have planned there. I suppose the major shoe-in on their side would be Lilia in the jungle. She doesn't really do too much else. I've seen her attempted elsewhere. I don't particularly agree with it. Personally, I'm actually just not much of a fan of that character in general. I think of the most recent champion, or recent, that's a relative term, but recent champion releases, you get what I mean. I haven't actually found her kit to be particularly interesting, but that's a personal thing. So let's not dwell on that fact for too long here. Yeah, I'm going to go with, okay, let's just commit instead of humming and hawing. Let's just hard commit to something. Let's say Janna support, AD carry, in those air quotes there, Yasuo. Lilia jungle, Lux top lane, Zoe mid. All right, let's do that. Let's just say that's what they're doing. Again, there are a number of possibilities there, but the spectator delay is about to expire, so we'll find out shortly one way or the other and see just how wrong I am. Of course, so let's try and make a quick prediction here on wing side. Let's just say Darius top, Mordekaiser, or Darius jungle, Mordekaiser top, Lee Sin mid, AD carry Misfortune, and I forget what their fifth pick was that I haven't said anything for, but we'll see shortly. As we are loading in here, there we have it. And it appears, all right, so for Uwu's side, who of course are going to be the blue team, we have, AD carry Yasuo. We have, Jungle Lux, of course, that is actually a thing. It's still, the concept is so weird to me, but that is something of a known quantity. It's not entirely unheard of. So we're going with Lilia support, all right. I have actually seen that a few times in the past. I'm not a personal fan, but that's just my own personal support preferences, I suppose. I've become something of a support player recently. I used to be a top main, but I got to say I've been playing more support than anything else the last little while. So, but that is not particularly relevant. And so that is going to be, of course, Janna in the bottom lane there. And actually, it's given the teleport, I suppose it's going to be Zoe top. But in any case, quick assessment here on the wing side. We see actually Darius going to top lane, so in his usual old position there. Uwu attempting to get a lot of, or as much tower damage out as possible, playing a bit of a risky game there. I haven't seen people do that in a very, very long time. I don't know if that strategy's come back or something, but you used to see people hit the tower a few times, risk getting killed and sniped by something, and then giving up a bunch of gold, but you could usually avoid it, and then just going back. Because at that point, if you die, it's not really relevant. You just respawn and come back, and it's not any kind of problem at all. But in any case, yeah, we do see Zoe going to the top there. And, oh, an Echo Jungle. Man, that takes me back. I remember that being a thing quite some time ago. And in case, yeah, it does appear that we do have the Lee Sin in the mid lane. So I believe I got that one right at least. And, oh, of course, Mordekaiser in the bottom lane, acting as a pseudo support. Fascinating. I remember when they first reworked Mordekaiser. What would that have been, like maybe probably about 4 years ago at this point, I want to say. Just to mess around on the PB, the first time I ever tried that rework, I did support Mordekaiser. But that, of course, was like mid Mordekaiser. I don't want to call him old Mordekaiser because old Mordekaiser means something else, but that's going to get confusing. Let's not talk about that. And actually, that is a Janna mid. All right. Solo lane Janna. Like I said, it was kind of a thing. I've played it myself, so I know how it functions. So we'll see how it works out for they're going forward. And looking at the game itself as opposed to theorizing how various roles and whatnot are going to be working here. Seems to be a relatively quiet start. No one too eager in terms of the fighting there. Never mind, we see Yasuo going straight in with not a lot of hit points to work with, but he missed one of his Qs there. Is that going to end up costing him in the end? Not so far, as he gets a fairly easy kill against the Misfortune there, as Mordekaiser is fighting for his life and will be going down in rather short order, falling to the level 2 bottom lanes there. And that's, I was saying, started off quietly. Never mind, that's 2 dead in the bottom lane before anything had a chance to properly get set up, or so to speak, I suppose. And in the top lane here, we have Darius being harassed within an inch of his life there. He's not looking too good, but, he's Darius, is a tough guy. We'll see if he can take it and fight back in the lane. Mid lane is also pushed in there for Uwu, as the Lee Sin is being pressured. Darius going to take a lot of damage there and probably going to die. Yeah, there. As soon as that sleep landed there, it was lights out for him. But in any case, Zoe taking a tower shot, not too much of a big deal. I'm sure she is happy with her gold. They're going to hit the tower a few more times. We'll see if she decides to back off of that. But in any case, Lee Sin looking to get a bit of farm there. Janna landing a tornado, actually at long range. Lee Sin not managing to dodge that. And will eat a bit of damage for his troubles there. Janna pushing in quite nicely, getting a good amount of damage against the tower fairly early on. There goes the blue buff being taken by the Lux. It's interesting seeing so many options available to junglers nowadays. At varying points of, oh, nice Q by the Lee Sin. He's not going to go for that, is he? Oh, yeah, he is. It's the Lee Sin curse. When you land a Q, you got to go for it, I guess, even if it means you end up getting blown up and ceasing to exist. But he made his choices there. I suspect he might regret them. But in any case, Janna taking another tower shot, a little bit careless, as there are people lurking nearby, or rather there were, not electing to do anything with that other than simply taking the Scuttle Crab. We see there's a bit of a fight going on here. There's a bit of an exit strategy. Never mind, the Misfortune decides to take far too much damage and gets annihilated by that Yasuo-Lilia combo. Yasuo taking just enough damage to perhaps tank the tower. No, here comes the Darius, who is going to attempt to run through the jungle there, or rather the tower there, and unfortunately finds himself respawning rather quickly. So a curious game thus far in terms of some of the decision making, but we'll see how that ends up working for both teams in the long run, as Yasuo misses a couple CS and pushes up to the tower there. And he will be No, not going to get too much damage. No, actually, he decided to keep pushing it. He's not going to pay any attention to the harassment that is being dished out by the misfortune there. Eventually decides to wind wall it. Here comes the Lux jungle and a teleport on top of that from the Zoe. That's another Lee Sin going down. Kill going to the top lane. Zoe there picking up herself her second kill of the game, I do believe. And the Aerie there picking up the final little kill against the enemy jungler. Zoe flashing forward to pick up some manner of summoner spell on the ground, I imagine. Never mind that, though, as we have another fight here in the bottom lane. Yasuo barely escaping with his life in conjunction with the tower, taking down the enemy Mordekaiser there. I suspect we're also going to see, yep, there she goes. There's the misfortune also dying. Janna ignoring more of the Lee Sin, stepping just out of range and then back into range, and ultimately taking the tower shot nonetheless. Janna charging up another tornado there, going to hit both players. Bottom lane tower. I can't quite see its hit points, but I suspect it's very close to death there. I was trying to see if I could see what's going on. Lee Sin once again being far too aggressive for his own good and barely escaping with his life. However, he does have some support in the form of the Echo there, who is doing good damage, but ultimately decides to back off, despite the fact that Darius is running to his aid. Misses the apprehend, however, does land a Q for his troubles, and is simply going to walk away there. Janna, not too much worse for wear, but going to have to watch out for essentially anything hitting her at this point, except perhaps Lee Sin. I feel like he's going to die. Yes. That's what's going to happen. As Echo, getting a little bit too close there, going to eat a little bit more harassment from the Janna. We see Darius clearing out a ward while he tanks the dragon at the same time. Yasuo going to try and grab that cannon minion. No, he's going to elect to kill the misfortune, or at least attempt to instead. May have bitten off more than he can chew at this point. However, ultimately, he does net, or rather, Lilia does net himself or herself the kill there. Double kill, potentially a triple kill. And more harassment on the Lee Sin coming in. More tower damage. Tower's not going to be able to take too much more of that. Charging up that tornado again. I suspect that's aimed at the Lee Sin, who will not dodge. And actually ends up eating a fair amount of damage for that. I suppose the Janna is actually leveling the Q, given the amount of damage I was seeing there. It's a bit hard to gauge. But in any case, we see Echo covering in the top lane here as Mordekaiser is in fact... Oh, excuse me, not Mordekaiser, as Darius is probably fighting the Rift Herald there, if I had to guess. Bit of a swap. Feels more comfortable in the jungle or something. And Yasuo continuing the pressure. There's a very large wave there. We'll see how much Misfortune is actually able to grab. Doing an all right job of getting some CS there rather quietly. Of course, a bit of an uphill battle for her at this point, but Darius coming in from behind. Is he going to be able to run down the Janna? No, she's simply just going to walk away. Darius doesn't really seem to be particularly keen on following, as we have a war for the blue buff here. Echo deciding to try and take the buff. He is not going to be able to do so, as it does appear that the Lux took it with the smite, I do believe, and we have 3 people fighting the Darius here who will be going down in short order. And there you have it. That's another kill. And of course, the score is 17-1, as we have perhaps the most one-sided battle in the history of the NSSEL, certainly of what I've witnessed. And once again, that minion wave pushing up against the tower there. Mordekaiser eating a bit of damage for his trouble. Any kind of engagement at this point would be enough to take those 2. I suppose the silver lining for them is they're probably not worth very much money anymore. Well, that's going to slightly reset things there, as Mordekaiser does land himself a kill somehow, and but ultimately goes down himself. So refreshing the gold, and really picking up a cool 300. That's always a pleasant thing for support to be able to grab. given the impoverished existence they are often forced to live. Zoe continuing to land more damage against the Darius there, who simply does not care that he's being shot at, and will bravely tank all those spells. Kudos to him. And here comes the Echo, who will simply make a show of force there, and then decide to take the easy minions there, as opposed to go for any kind of potentially risky kill against the Lilia, who has, of course, landed herself a number of kills, so she's not exactly weak, despite being an alleged support. Yasuo, however, may actually be in a good bit of trouble. He's electing to go back in, especially given the backup there coming from the Lux, who's going to land a shot from the jungle. Ultimately going to go 2 kills to 1. We'll see how long the Mordekaiser decides to stick around. It looks like he is backing off to safety despite Janna's presence there. She is not going to be able to pick anything up. As Zoe, if she lands anything there against the Darius, decides to stick around or anything like that, should be able to... Oh, no, actually that one auto attack was not enough. I do believe it was empowered, but still not quite enough to grab the Darius there. However, once again, Darius is still there, so she's going to get another shot at it. That should be a dead Mordekaiser there, as he gets taken out by the Lilia and Janna duo. Ultimately, Lux picking up that second kill there against the Misfortune, who is not allowed to go back into lane. Who simply decided, you're not allowed to farm, and there goes the tower. Perhaps something of a blessing, as perhaps Wings' bottom lane might be able to hide under their second tower. But here comes Janna fighting 2 people at once, although she does have to help with the tower, and Lee Sin ultimately probably lost most of his life there from the tower, and the camera did unfocus, but I believe we're going to see, well, there's certainly a kill in the top lane, but we're also going to see a kill in the mid here, I do believe, or just off to the mid, as Lee Sin gets sandwiched between the Janna and the Lux. Lux taking him out with, of course, that ult has a very, very low cooldown. Okay, so there comes Yasuo. He wants more. Is he fancy his chances of 2v1? Not in this instance. He'd been going for it up until this point, but there he goes. Misfortune stepped a little bit too far away from her supporting, I don't know how to phrase it, supporting presence. Ultimately, however, that presence is also snuffed out as the Mordekaiser goes down as well. Lilia, I was about to say, is she going to survive that tower shot? Not quite. I think she just barely died, but I want to say something below 20 hit points. So close, but down she goes nonetheless. However, the Janna does avenge her death there, taking that tower out. And Misfortune walks into that sleep there. Does take a lot of damage for trouble. Attempts to use an ult, and to no avail. It doesn't really seem to go anywhere. Zoe landing those skill shots just sort of continuously. It's kind of a fish in a barrel sort of situation. But both players deciding to back off ultimately. Oh, no, they're re-engaging. They simply wanted to get away from that tower a little bit, I suppose, perhaps baiting their opposition away, can't say. Here comes Lee Sin once again, though. He certainly is incorrigible. Never wants to leave any sort of fight. There is the sleep. Is anyone going to walk into it this time? Doesn't really seem like it. Mordekaiser, I do believe he's used his ult there, it looked like. Ultimately irrelevant, as Yasuo will take him down. I was wondering if he's going to go for that second kill there under the tower. But of course, that is an Echo who does have his ult. So that would have been, I imagine, somewhat foolhardy, unless the Echo is not paying attention and is not able to cast his ult whatsoever, as that dive there is successful, though Janna does pick up the kill for herself. Here we have the tower ultimately going down. A nice hit there from all 4 players present. I'm going to take down... that was a Misfortune once again. It's getting a little bit difficult to keep track of who's died, because people are just kind of dead all the time. But Janna just barely managing to survive with the aid of her shield there, backing out. going to return to the pad there, perhaps to do some shopping, certainly some healing, as her two allies continue to push down that tower. Zoe and Lilia, not exactly known as tower-destroying powerhouses, but they'll get the job done eventually if you leave them alone long enough. Mordekaiser, however, will be interrupting them there. The question is, will he be able to do anything of the sort, as his life bar is already almost non-existent. And there he goes. That's it there. Once again, that sleep lands, and that's sort of, well, good night. Here comes Darius from behind. He has no hit points, so I suspect that's not going to go too well for him there. Nice little dodge there by the Zoe, right as Darius was spinning his Q. You can, of course, see that coming. Yasuo is going to pick up another one there using his ult. Zoe going behind the Misfortune, going to wait on the sleep there, getting an auto attack. That's the end of her. Lilia backing up, but she's a bit too slow on that one. It's kind of a race to see who can get more kills at this point, I suppose. Mordekaiser looking for another fight there. I suspect that's not going to go too well for him, as they're going to make short work of him. Mordekaiser goes down once again with two inhibitors exposed. They will be going down momentarily, I imagine. Yasuo pushing the mid one just off screen, if you can't see that. Darius is going to get slept himself, trying to use an ult, but not any kind of a result he wanted there, I imagine, as he's going to go down. Yasuo going for the kill. Who's going to land it there? Nope, that time it was, I believe, Zoe who grabbed that one. Yasuo still going in there. Is he going to get one this time? No, it was stolen away once again by Lilia. No one's giving the Yasuo kills there. There he goes. No, Yasuo tried for it again. Didn't get it again. This time it was... was that Lilia or was it Lux? I don't know. Like I said, too many people are dying here, and I can't keep track of what's going on. But we do have inner tower number 1 going down. There is... was that another sleep landing? Yes, it was. There goes the Darius for the... How many times Darius died now? I don't think it's the most on his team. 8, I see. The record is currently actually held by Misfortune at 12, who will die right again on the summoning pad. And Wings letting the opposition know that they would have won. So I guess they were just, taking it easy on their schoolmates, I suppose. The BM here from Uwu asserting their dominance by allowing the minions to kill the Nexus. They don't even need to put the effort in to do that. And there we go. That is game number 1 of Uwu versus Wings. A fascinating game number 1. If I had to venture a guess, I would say there may be a slight experience differential between the two teams, but we'll see if the Wings can bring it back in game number 2. I'll see you guys momentarily. Thanks for tuning in. All right, and welcome back to game number 2 of the Uwu Nuzzle Wuzzle versus WingsUpBum series. Of course, for those of you who had witnessed the previous game, Uwu won that rather handily. So we'll see if Wings will be able to fight back in this game number 2 here. Now, I do believe these sides have swapped. Just looking at the names here, I recognize some of them at this point, at least. Banning and, well, picking has not been done yet, but banning is certainly underway. As thus far, we have on Wings' side, we've got a Mundo and Fiddlesticks ban. So, not liking those junglers, I suppose, although, you know, you can see those champions in other roles. But a Mumu going, so I think let's just call it a clean jungle sweep there. And on Uwu's side, we have bans on Pantheon, Orianna. The names sound kind of similar, right? Orianna and Gnar. All right, well, when is the Orianna actually, come to think of it? Both Orianna and... not to say it has any bearing on this particular game, but I'm just thinking in the past I've actually seen a good number of Oriannas and I would say a medium number of Pantheons throughout the course of the NSSEA specifically. Just thought I would note that. Morgana, incidentally, sneaking through there, so finally one of those big power picks, I suppose, going for Wings. Will that be enough for them to fight back? We shall see. I do believe someone in the chat earlier was saying that they wanted Garen and were upset that Uwu had banned him. So, Turkmen Gaming 62 perhaps getting his wish, unless they're doing a swap. But in any case, we'll see where that goes. Misfortune, once again, did not have the time of her life in that last game. I believe she died like 12 or 13 times by the end there in a 16-minute game. But I imagine they're going to be looking to improve that scoreline going forward. Lastly, we have Master Yi and Lee Sin coming in. So it looks like finally we have something resembling a more normal-ish team comp, and it's going to be slightly easier to figure out what's going on. Again, they were weird positions and picks, but for the most part, a lot of that wasn't entirely unheard of. Coming on the Uwu side, what are their picks here? We got Zillion, Tryndamere, Azir, Cho'Gath, and Ziggs. So that's going to be a slightly non-standard comp again by the looks of things. I suppose that's simply the theme of the day here. So starting with the Wings' side, I imagine it is a Morgana bottom lane combo. Fairly normal stuff. Garen top lane, Lee Sin mid, much like last game. He's not going to be eating nearly as many tornadoes this game, I imagine, as he's not going to be facing a Janna. But judging by the opposition, it's probably going to be spears he's going to have to dodge, maybe. We'll see how things work out. And Master Yi in the jungle. Again, barring some kind of weird swappy business, but probably something along those lines. Now, for the slightly more complicated affair, Uwu, what are they planning here? Ziggs pseudo AD carry. I remember that used to be a thing quite a lot. I want to say it was about 3 years ago, and it caused a lot of complaining. from AD carries because they were being replaced by Ziggs and a few other mages. But I mean, AD carries are complaining all the time. If there's a role complaining about something in League of Legends, consistently from the community, it's probably the AD carries. And they're probably complaining, if not about people replacing them, they're complaining about tanks. That's been just a consistent since the beginning of League of Legends time. But in any case, speaking of time, we have Zillion, I suspect, in the support role. We got Tryndamere in the top, Cho'Gath jungle, Azir mid. It would make sense to me that that's going to resemble a standard team in the most standard sort of way. Although I suppose we could see some kind of bizarre swap with Ziggs in the mid and Azir in the bottom lane, or Azir, I should say. Azir is the way I've personally pronounced it since he was released, because I think it sounds better, but I realize when I'm doing commentary, I should probably use the proper name. So, in any case, I actually have seen an Azir in the bottom lane functioning as a pseudo AD carry on a number of occasions, but that's certainly more uncommon than his standard role. All right, well, we have one more minute in the spectator delay to ensure no cheating is happening. It's certainly a bit more difficult to assess any kind of specific lane matchup when there's a lot of non-standard things going on. Although top lane Garen versus Tryndamere, it's a very old school sort of matchup. Though despite the fact that both champions are amongst the oldest in existence, I don't have a lot of personal memory of those two specifically fighting. Neither in streams or in any kind of professional capacity, or certainly me, because I don't actually like either character. I find them a bit boring. But I'm interested to see how that one works out. Obviously, Tryndamere is going to scale harder, but Garen's probably going to have a slightly easier time of things, being as tanky as he is, at least in sort of an early laning context, if I had to guess. So probably going to try being the optimal word there, to bully out the Tryndamere and perhaps out-sustain him, as they both do have innate forms of sustain. Tryndamere, of course, in the form of his heal, and Garen in the form of his passive, where he just kind of regens when he's out of combat. Now, in the now we'll actually be able to find out who actually went where. These teams have me a bit paranoid in terms of my guessing here, but yeah, it looks like we just loaded in the game. There we go. All right, so. Misfortune in the bottom lane. Yep, Morgana most likely there was the support. Garen with the Ignite in the top lane. Lee Sin has heal in the mid lane. All right, that should be interesting. And Mastery in the jungle. Bottom side, there's no super clear indication specifically right now, but I suspect my bottom lane guess is fairly accurate there. Tryndamere, he's going top side. And obviously, Cho'Gath is the jungler, as he has taken the smite. But yeah, all around a slightly more standard setup here. As are they going to try and do it again? Nope, Lee Sin is going to thwart that. It looks like Ubu wanted to get that early damage against the tower silliness there, but not going to be allowed this time around, as Tryndamere will spin in, but may find himself taking a little bit of damage. No, their movement speed appears to be roughly the same. So a bit of a standoff. Abilities used, but no blood drawn, as both parties back off. See some quiet waiting around in the jungle here. Just waiting on those blue buffs to spawn in about 25 seconds from now. Master Yi will actually be starting on the red side, incidentally. But Morgana perhaps refusing to help her ally there. She is the fallen one, after all, playing the part of the villain, or is not going to aid the jungler in any capacity whatsoever. Wants to just, I guess, guard that tower, in case someone sneaks up and hits it. And that's not going to be happening, as Morgana's on the case. Master Yi, though, will be getting a leash, at least from the AD carry there, getting shot a few times there by the Misfortune, and battle will be joined now, as Lee Sin is starting on the Raptors. He's getting beaten up pretty hard, and ultimately he is not successful in his efforts to best the Raptors there. And Azir has a free lane. Moving back up to the top lane, we see Tryndamere actually getting quite a bit of damage. The camera will not focus on that, however, as we see some harassment going back and forth in the bottom lane. Damage is about even at the current time. Tryndamere looking to go for more damage there, just landing auto attacks, weaving in a minion kill there to make sure he grabs a bit of money. Using the there's pretty simple stuff going on there, but we should note that Tryndamere is kind of walking in and out of the jungle to ensure that the minions don't do too much damage to him. Tryndamere is probably going to win out on that, forcing a flash out from the Garen already, as Tryndamere will deal a surprising amount of damage with his auto attacks if he's got his rage bar filled up like that and walks up to you and he just keeps, auto attacking you. Master Yi just gonna walk into lane there. Zig's getting caught out by a Morgana Dark Binding. They're actually gonna take quite a bit of damage. I think he might have been a bit overconfident there, assuming perhaps that people wouldn't be able to land their skill shots, but they showed him, as he's probably going to be going back there, and the bottom lane getting themselves a nice early win. Tryndamere taking a tower shot. Was that intentional? I suspect not, as he is now running away. I was wondering if it might be a bait, and he was fancying his chances to actually fight the Garen out with a full rage bar, but that is not the case. We see Cho'Gath there, quickly grabbing himself the red buff, going towards those Krugs. A lot of damage coming in on the part of Wings, as Morgana looking to do another binding. Zilean quick on his feet, however, and will have none of it. We'll be grabbing some of that farm in the bottom lane, as his pseudo AD carry was not there at the time. Ziggs, however, is back. Here, speaking of being back, here comes Tryndamere, actually landing a lot of damage, forces out a exhaust from the Tryndamere as he backs out. Zilean doing, again, pretty good job of dodging that Morgana binding, does not walk straight into it, sees it coming, and then walks forward into a little bit of damage, but definitely better to eat a tiny bit of damage from the misfortune as opposed to get a binding on you. Cho'Gath fancying his chances in the enemy jungle here, looking to steal the blue. Is he going to be able to? I'm not sure who quite grabbed it. Oh yeah, it looks like the no, Master Yi got it in the end. He had the smite up to grab it, I do believe. Focusing back on the bottom lane here, just some quiet harass. Misfortune fancying her chances in a harassment exchange. Nope, just simply walks forward, then walks back and grabs that CS instead. Lee Sin pushed up into his tower there, not being able to do too much. Tryndamere is going to be caught towards the enemy side. I don't know if he's going to be able to win that one there. He is not, just simply spins out. Garen does not chase that one. Another decent binding there by the Morgana, landing it on the Zilean. So Morgana, that last game didn't go too well for Wings, but certainly Morgana's have been doing an okay job of landing those skill shots. We're actually at the 5-minute mark, and no one has died here yet. Tryndamere forced out. I was about to say, is that going to be a kill against him? But no, that flash was enough to get him out there. It looks like Master Yi smoked a minion for some reason. Perhaps he thought he had Chilling Smite or something, but he does not yet. You got to cast Smite a few more times before you can do that. Ziggs grabbing a little bit more money there. Morgana, oh, there we go. There's a missed binding. Going for the Zilean again, and like I said, well, actually, no, it kind of went in between those two targets there. I do that sometimes too. When there's multiple targets, I'll just sort of throw it in between them and hope one of them will run into it. It's usually not a very good idea, but sometimes you can catch yourself with a weird skill shot. And more quiet last hitting in the bottom lane here. Does Misfortune, I was about to say, is Misfortune going to get that cannon minion? And she does not. Ziggs, however, will answer with a cannon minion of his own and find himself up to, I believe it's 66 gold at this point in the game. More players sort of quietly standing about. Morgana shooting out, trying with those bindings. What's that terrible quote that I don't like? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but you also don't expend any efforts on, whatever. Top lane here, we have Tryndamere kind of going in and then backing out, deciding to not finish that fight off. I suspect he might have been able to actually chase that one down, and he decided to go for it. Perhaps he is... oh, never mind. There is a binding landing on the Zilean there. However, Morgana will be slowed. There will be no follow-up. We have the Master Yi lurking in the wings there, perhaps fancying his chances at some manner of gank. Should Master Yi... if you're going to go, now's your time to go. There was a binding landed, but electing to not go for it at all. He's playing the long game, If he waits there long enough, perhaps something even better will happen. No, he's simply going to keep standing there, soaking up a little bit of EXP. We have Tryndamere farming up in the top lane, battling back and forth as the bottom. Oh no, there we go. Master Yi finally left. Perhaps he had to go to the bathroom. I'm not really sure what the plan was, but he is definitely going up into the enemy jungle there. We have Tryndamere, who will be forced to use his ult in retaliation to Master Yi into Garen's ult. So yeah, Garen actually, like I said, doing decently early on. Tryndamere not really able to I don't know. Like I said, I feel like Garen probably is a difficult thing to deal with. Never mind that, as we have Zillion being forced to use his ult as well. So a lot of defensive ults here at this point in time. So no kills yet, as Master Yi is going to come in and just tax or attempt to tax people, but not actually take anything. That's unusual. Taxman doesn't know how to collect money. We have Lee Sin, who's simply going to walk up to Azir and kick him. Some form of BM, I suppose, or establishing dominance or something. He's so tough, he can just walk up to you and kick you. What are you going to do about it, Azir? I'm Lee Sin. Tryndamere farming things out very quietly there. He's got some CS. Of course, he can heal up, so he doesn't really care about minion damage too much. Are they going to go for any sort of fight? A spin on spin there, as Tryndamere is going to keep going for it. Does force out a flash from Garen, who will back off. Tryndamere, of course, can decide to heal at any time if he so chooses. Garen simply hiding in the bush there, going for another exchange. He's going to spin. Does he have his ult back at this point? No, he doesn't. I don't think either have their ults at this point. Master Yi with a very early flash there, deciding to avoid the rupture. He's going to be facing two people. There comes Azir using his ult to simply stifle that, not wanting to risk the life of his friend. And good companion there, Cho'Gath. Zig's going to land a bit of damage there, send that long-range harass with the mines. Morgana throwing down the puddle. Garen going for it once again. He does not have his ult, but if this fight goes for too long, Tryndamere electing to not finish that fight with an extra auto attack, which is a fascinating decision, but who am I to question his financial plan, as it were. All right, we see Azir landing a bit more damage. Lee Sin queuing a minion. I don't know if he was intending to queue the minion or the Azir, but that's what happened. We see on the bottom, no, never mind, not the bottom side. We see top side again, or rather mid side fighting. And well, no, never mind, it was rather prophetic. We see the top side. We have Tryndamere simply exhausting the Garen and backing out. I do believe Garen could have simply ulted through that and probably still killed the Tryndamere if he wasn't paying attention and didn't cast his ult. But then again, we do have to keep in mind, Tryndamere can simply press a button and render himself immune to death. That's not entirely true. He can still die through that, but the only way that can happen, I do believe, is if he steps on the enemy's spawn pad and takes a laser. Pretty sure that's the only thing that'll go through his ult. But in any case, we have Master Yi here going under tower. I'm not really sure if he remembers what Tryndamere's ult is, but Tryndamere actually uses his ult early. He didn't even need to use it at that point, but I suppose, better safe than sorry. As he heals up, of course, Tryndamere with an excellent source of sustain. He just has to expend his rage for it. So once he uses it, of course, his combat abilities are not quite as significant. But nonetheless, he will be quietly grabbing himself some CS here, spinning into the minions. Almost full rage bar, and if he should so choose, yep, there it goes. There's the heal, and he's pretty healthy at this point. So if he decides to stick around, he's certainly within his capacity to do so. As if I had to guess, probably, well, let me say what I would do. I'd probably push in one more wave and then go back and spend the cash, because I suspect he has an okay amount at this point. But it's hard to say, because a lot of times people want to back on very specific thresholds. Tryndamere not particularly caring for the spinning Garen there. Perhaps he should have started caring a bit sooner, as he was forced to use a flash there. But in any case, going back down to the bottom lane. Back to the mid lane, Azir landing a bit of damage. I have a sneaking suspicion he's not going to finish the kill there. There's the Morgana landing a nice little binding, not following up with a puddle immediately, so losing out on a bit of damage, but damage is damage, I suppose. Ultimately, that actually didn't seem like very much damage. I wonder if she's actually leveling the shield as opposed to the binding or the puddle. Certainly when I play Morgana support, I would expect a bit more damage at this level coming out of the character. But at the same time, she doesn't really have any items at all either. So who knows what's happening there. Well, she does have items, but nothing really damaging is what I meant to say, I suppose. All right, we do see the tower almost going down. Are they going to get that last little bit of money there if they hit it one more time? Nope. Master, same play in the top lane as Tryndamere pushes into the tower. Garen sneaks up behind him, Ninja Garen or something, and Tryndamere simply walks away. Seeing, like I said, a number of patterns this game. I suppose this game is nothing if not consistent. Cho'Gath doing the fancy double camp thing. Yeah, I like it when I see that. It's always amusing. Morgana taking a little bit of extra tower damage. I would say probably 2 shots more than she really should have. The first one I can understand. But the next 2, I don't know. In any case, coming to the top side here, we do see Wings probably grabbing that... or, sorry, not Wings. We see Uwu grabbing that Herald there. And I imagine they're going to be able to do good work with that. Bottom side, we have Tryndamere, not Tryndamere, we have Ziggs pushing things up. Azir electing to not kill the Lee Sin, so something of a truce, I suspect, happening in that mid lane there. A truce or mercy, depending on how you want to define it. Bottom side, pushing in. Not too much longer for that tower. One good wave will do it. Master Yi farming up. Ziggs landing a bit more damage against that tower there. That satchel charge will, yep, there we go. Satchel charge, does it do that much damage? That seemed rather extreme there. In any case, the tower goes down. And is it the first one of the game? I do believe it is. Yeah, like a lot of towers are damaged throughout the map. But here comes the Master Yi, who does at least burn that Zonya's there. Or at that point, it's not the Zonya's, that's the stopwatch. So that can only be used once. Zillion, I suppose, being extra safe and then using his ult immediately afterwards, even though it was completely unnecessary. But I imagine that cooldown will come back rather quickly. Zillion's sort of known for that. An extra heal being thrown out in the bottom lane by, I believe that's the Misfortune who used it, yes? Perhaps finding that tower a bit more scary than... was warranted, but down goes tower number 2 there as that Rift Herald we were talking about doing a good amount of damage. And here comes the classic battle of the junglers over at the Raptor camp there. I don't think anything's going to come of it yet. Much like in the top lane, people simply backing off, and not a lot happening at this point. Still no kills, I would like to point out, rather interestingly. One might have expected at this point for at least a few of these things to result in kills. For example, right there, as Cho'Gath decides to simply walk by the enemy bottom lane, not knowing what to do or electing to not do anything, as he gets out free. All hail Cho'Gath. As Zillion siphoning in some EXP there into the Ziggs. Not a lot happening beyond that at this point. So I suspect at this point, at the 16-minute mark, this is the least number, or rather, I suppose the better way to phrase it is the longest I've ever seen a game go without any kills whatsoever in the NSSEL. So setting records here, at least for on-stream. I don't know about the off-stream games. It is possible we've seen something, or there has been something longer. But in any case, Morgana eating a bit of harass there. Not quite sure what to do. Panicking a bit, perhaps. Do I go in? Do I leave? She's not sure. There goes Zillion backing out. Of course, he has his ult there should he decide. But that's not even necessary, as he's going to walk away from that exchange. Here's a brawl. Now, surely this will result in someone dying. Nope. Using his ult in response to an ult and simply backing away. There comes the teleport. Azir also waiting in the wings. There's the Master Yi, still trying to go for things. However, he is not going to be able to do anything, as Azir will say no to that. On top of that, Zillion, of course, had his ult as well, and stifle any kind of engagement on multiple levels there. As that's going to be it for that little bit of action on the top side. Garen, 90 gold. Congratulations, sir. It's the most action we've seen all game. I wonder what he's going to buy himself with that. You can almost buy 2 potions. Oh, 175. It's even more impressive than the 90 there. Here goes the mid-side tower. Lee Sin only needs to hit it a few more times. Is he going to be able to do it before the Azir makes it and ruins his day? I'm going to say 2 more auto attack. Oh, it's actually 3. All right, there we go. All right, congratulations, Lee Sin, grabbing himself that mid tower. So at this point, we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4 towers total having gone down. Tryndamere getting extremely low once again. He's got to be careful, as if he keeps playing this game, it's a dangerous one. And he doesn't have that ult to save him this time around. Of course, Garen doesn't have his ult for immediate burst either, so it's not quite as dangerous on his part. First dragon of the game going down, so congratulations to Uwu for picking that one. That is an ocean drake. I like how I mix dragon and drake, one sentence apart. They are different things. In any case, Tryndamere kind of going for a fight, not really. A show of force, spinning in the general direction of the Master Yi there. Ziggs laying down some mines. Misfortune walking a bit too far forward. There goes the Tryndamere, in and out. It's his usual thing. Ducking and weaving. Frustrating the enemy team with his non-committal strategy. All right, Azir grabbing some quiet farm there. Lee Sin just kind of pounding in the ground in frustration. Kicking that Azir away once again. Just showing him who's boss. I like the bold approach there to the mid lane strategy. Azir, on the other hand, will simply keep poking and farming. Come to think of it, I wonder what the... I'm actually going to ignore this fight in the bottom lane for a minute here because no one's going to die, spoilers. But just to kind of quickly compare farm, I'm a little bit curious about how that's going. So bottom lane, it does appear that Uwu is winning rather handily. In terms of the mid, or let's go top lane next. Top lane, Uwu once again winning rather handily. Jungle side winning rather handily for Uwu. And surprise, surprise, winning rather handily is Uwu once again in the mid lane. So despite the fact that there are no kills, there is a rather large gold deficit that the Wings are going to have to work against here. Obviously, we can see the gold at the top, but if you're wondering where that gold deficit is coming from, it's the CS, as Uwu is winning across the board as they are looking to grab Herald number 2. Garen standing around for some reason. Perhaps he is spectating at the moment, observing the strategies of Uwu, watching them take down that Rift Herald at the moment. I wonder if Uwu is going to attempt to do the mythic no-kill win, where they simply take objectives. I've never seen it myself, but I've heard tales. Azir, under his tower there, farming rather quietly. We have Tryndamere right-clicking. Garen going for it. Of course, not Udyr. Tryndamere has his ult, so he's going to back out. Oh, that was... What was that? That must have been the Ignite. Right, he did it late. Clever stuff there by the Garen. First blood to Wings. Congratulations. That was amazing stuff. Making the Tryndamere pay for his hubris. And either using his ult too early, or Garrett actually kind of wised up to that and was like, all right, you're going to get down to no HP, and I'm going to use the Ignite on you at the last second. I'm not sure which, but whatever the case. Well-deserved. I hope he spends that gold well and enjoys the item. As we go back to the mid lane here, Azir quietly farming things up. Not a lot going on there. Oh, are we getting another tower? It looks like it is. The combined efforts of Master Yi and Misfortune taking that one down there. It's going to continue pushing forward. Lee Sin with functionally no hit points could theoretically die at any point. But will he? That is the question. It appears not, as he is standing potentially AFK in the mid lane. No, he's not AFK. He saw those two brutes coming towards him and got the heck out of there. Master Yi grabbing himself a red buff. Is it going to be yet another battle at the Raptors? This is a highly contested battleground here, as well, it's not so contested this time, as Cho'Gath simply establishes his dominance and walks away as... Master Yi waves his sword in his general direction, but is not able to do too much. It looks like he's getting pushed away for his efforts there by the Azir once again. rather consistent use of that ult. Here comes Tryndamere, who is going to spin away. Misses the little dash there, gets caught in the wall. I suspect he's still going to get away. But ultimately, does he have his ult? He does have his ult at least. Also, his exhaust is back, so that is an option to him, should he decide to not want to fight or die. Mid lane is going to be pushed in here rather hard. Garen is in the rough area. We'll see what he's able to do with his tower. Oh yeah, it's the Rift Herald. There it comes. And the Rift Herald will actually be able to... Oh, it didn't even slam a single time, so it gets to save its full HP amount for the next tower. Because, yeah, if the tower dies while the slam animation is happening, it'll actually cancel the slam. So, there we go. 2 towers down now at this point. We'll see if those 2 continue to push forward. No, not going to elect to do that. Whenever I see Azir pushing towers, I'm always reminded of how he used to... I can't remember if they made it into live, or if this is a PB only thing, but it was definitely very, very early Azir, where he used to be able to explode his sand soldiers on towers. I think that was on live, and they took that away from him eventually. So that was how he used to be able to damage towers, and it was actually very, very good. So when they took it away from him, it was a nerf. But in any case, here comes Master Yi and Garen, the 2 dudes with swords, and the guy who will punch people. Oh, there goes Master Yi. Cho'Gath, once again, not particularly caring about this damage. I mean, he'll eventually get chunked down, especially with 2 people coming towards him there. But this Cho'Gath is actually quite fast, if we look at his speed. Zig's throwing out a satchel, ensuring that the Cho'Gath is not tickled too much. And he also, of course, has Warmog, so if he stays out of combat for too long, he's just going to get all his HP back. Master Yi still going for it. Does Cho'Gath have Warmogs or something? I swear Master Yi just took damage from auto-attacking him there, but I'm not quite sure what that was. No, he doesn't have... I don't think that's so... is it Warmogs? Yeah, no, there's no Thornmail or anything like that. Alright, there is a Tryndamere who gets rooted under tower. Morgana on a very interesting side of the map. They're way deep in there. Cho'Gath is probably going to come say hello and just look at the opposition and take a very, very small amount of damage. I feel like Master Yi might have a lot of money he's sitting on. Looking at his items, that's... Even though he doesn't have too much CS, just from passive gold throughout the game, I feel like he might have a little bit more than that. But we'll see what happens whenever he decides to go back. Cho'Gath walking out here. Here comes... is he going to grab that one? Yep, gets himself that blue buff, not giving it to the Azir. Azir more than happy to hand it off, it appears. Not a lot happening at the moment as cute little dodge there from the Azir. Oh, gets kicked again. That's 3 times we've seen on camera now. And Azir, you better do something about that. Man's disrespecting you. You got to fight for presence in your lane. Here comes the Zillion electing to slow down. Or rather, slow things down. And, yeah, a rather intentionally picked team, I imagine, to be as annoying as humanly possible to the opposition. Team No Die has certainly accomplished their objective thus far of no die. Oh, Zillion just not, excuse me, not Zillion. Morgana. Oh, poor Morgana. Got, I think her pathing messed up, so she clicked beyond the wall and then just simply walked towards the turret, and then the turret killed her. It was so close to a kill, so very, very close. Tryndamere, once again, reminding his opposition that that tower is a no-fly zone, sending the Lee Sin scurrying for the time being. Auto attacks coming in there. It'll eventually die. That cannon minion proving rather resilient. So it's almost like a mini Cho'Gath. Oh, there we go. And what do we have here? That is a surrender coming. I'm not entirely sure. It's a victory for blue side, so I'm going to guess Wings won and Uwu ultimately end up surrendering. If that is the case, I suppose we will be having a Game 3 relatively soon. So if that's the case, we'll be seeing you guys shortly for this fascinating series. And if not, well, goodbye, and I'll see you next week. But again, given the colors, I suspect that was a win for Wings. Unless I can perhaps get confirmation. Yeah, we'll be back shortly, and we will return to you with an official ruling. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so we do have official confirmation that Wings forfeited the second match. So Uwu going up 2-0 in the series. Congratulations to them, and best of luck to Wings going forward. I hope they get some good practice in together and able to polish up their strategies for a more competitive outing in their next matchup. Looking forward to whatever the NSSEL or NSSEA has to bring in the near future. So hope to see you guys next week. And again, thanks for tuning in. See you guys later. Goodbye.